Romans 6:12. Therefore, do not let sin reign in your mortal body, that you should obey it in its lusts. All right. This is very important. I'm praying I can say it carefully so that there's no confusion. God is calling us to be like Jesus. Jesus is perfect. I think most of us are here because we've made a decision to follow Jesus. But how many here believe that we're perfect? So, seeing no hands, I'm assuming that you're in the same boat I'm in. But does that mean you're not a Christian? What is the difference between those that are out there in the world and those that are genuine Christians? A Christian is not a Christian because of the occasional good deed or the occasional misdeed, but it's the habitual words and acts. Before you are saved, sin has dominion over you. Sin rules in your life. We are holden by the cords of our sin. After you are saved, it doesn't mean you will never sin. It means that sin no longer has dominion over you. Your life is not governed by this slavery to sin. You have been set free. When a country is held in bondage by a despot, and he's on the throne, and then another country comes in and liberates them. When America went into France during World War II, and the Nazis had occupied the country, and there were terrible things that were happening there. The Allies came in, they liberated the French. The Nazis no longer had dominion, they no longer had rule, they were driven out, and that means from that point on the French no longer needed a police department for the occasional criminal. Is that what it meant? The people were free. They'd been liberated from the dominion of the Nazis. But it didn't mean that you didn't occasionally have some petty thief or a crime. Do you see what I'm saying? Who is on the throne in your life? Once you're saved, Christ is on the throne. Go ahead, read for us that verse, Romans 6:14.
For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under law, but under grace.
Sin is not ruling. It doesn't have dominion anymore. And again, you read the verse 12, sin does not reign. It doesn't have control. So if you're a Christian and you know that Jesus is the Lord of your life, but if you occasionally sin, that doesn't mean I'm justifying that. God wants you to get the victory over all those things. But it doesn't mean you're not a Christian, because otherwise, who here is a Christian? Do you see the difference we're talking about? Who has dominion? Who is the Lord? Who is guiding your life? When you wake up and you want to know what to do, whose will do you pursue? Do you say in your life, Lord, your will be done. I want to follow your will. I'm going to look in your word and find out what you want. He is your Lord. The devil is no longer your Lord. You're not living because of selfishness. You're not being driven by pride and the typical things that drive the lost in the world. Romans 8:2. For the law of the Spirit of life in Jesus has made me free from the law of sin and death. All of us should be able to claim that experience. Amen? Referring back to Galatians 4, verse 3 to 5, it says, even so, when we were children, we were in bondage under the elements of the world. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption of sons. Now, does a son still need to obey their father? Does a son still serve their parents? If they're good children, they know how to do some chores, but there's a family relationship. So we serve the Lord, but we do it as children. You remember we studied last week the prodigal son. What did that prodigal son say? My father's servants are eating better than me. And he comes back and he says, Father, make me as one of your hired servants. He says, no, I'm adopting you back. You're my complete son. The other son, the older brother, he says, all these years I've served you. So do sons serve? Yeah. So Paul is saying, look, you've been adopted. Even though you are Gentiles, you are adopted into the family. You become part of the stock of Israel. I remember one time hearing about a a teacher in a Sunday school class, and she was registering new season. 2 boys had just joined the class, and they were brothers. She asked for their birthdays. She wanted to always write down their birthdays so she could celebrate their birthdays when the time come. And they said, well, we're both 7. One of them said, my birthday's April 8th, 1976, and my brother's April 20th, 1976. And the teacher didn't have to think very long before she thought, well, that's impossible. No, it's not, answered the quieter brother. One of us is adopted. Without thinking, the teacher said, which one? The boys looked at each other and smiled and said, we don't know. We asked our father, and he said it's been so long he can't remember, and he loves us both. And that's how it is with the Lord. He adopts us, and he looks upon us as his children. He looks upon us as his own son. He loves us the way he loves his own son.